Spanish flu had been raging in various parts of the state for weeks before it finally reached DeKalb. U.S. Surgeon General Rupert Blue was so alarmed by the epidemic that on September 17, 1918, he called upon military officials to stop shipment of all exposed military personnel in the U.S. and immediately stop induction of new recruits. As Surgeon General, he could only recommend, not order, and his request was ignored. Bear one thing in mind: under no conditions cough or sneeze without holding a handkerchief before the mouth and nose. And if persons do cough or sneeze in your presence without using these precautions, call them down and do it severely. They deserve it and know it, and no offense will be given. At least some of the local population were becoming alarmed at the flu epidemic. Schools and churches in the town of DeKalb were closed October 10th by order of the State Commissioner of Health. As this went on, DeKalb Junction still hosted the annual county WCTU convention, and the play Cousin Timmy was performed at Coles Hall October 11th to a large crowd. On October 17, 1918, the DeKalb Junction reporter to the Plain Dealer reported, "Our schools and churches are closed until after the Spanish influenza epidemic has abated. Fortunately, we have no cases here yet." This was the last weekly column to appear in the Plain Dealer for 6 weeks. The graph shows the rapid onset of influenza deaths in the town of DeKalb in October 1918. The first death occurred on October 18th and the last on November 7th. In this time period, 24 people died in the town. 18 of them, or 75%, were employees of the St. Lawrence Pyrite Company of Stellaville. As the epidemic worsened, the Augsburg Hospital refused to take patients from outside the city. Emergency hospitals were opened at Pyrades by the SLU theology students and Governor in the Masonic Hall. The peak of the first outbreak in the town of DeKalb centered around the weekend of October 24th and 25th. Local accounts show that at that time, a northbound train from DeKalb Junction was forced to wait for the next train to assemble since every member of the first train's crew was sick. Newspaper accounts show that the same day a Miss Bacchus of Canton was filling in for Walter Enslow as first trick operator at DeKalb. Church services were held throughout the town on Sunday, November 10th for the first time in 1 month. The next day, Monday, November 11th, the local schools were open. At 11 a.m. that day, the armistice was declared, and the children of Richville celebrated with a parade all around the village, headed by drums and a bugle. After a month of quarantine and 2 years of war, everyone needed to celebrate. But the epidemic was not over. The flu continued to strike in the Richville area until the weather broke in the spring. At one point in the spring of 1919, a news column from Kindred Corners listed all the sick in the neighborhood. The article took up an entire column in the newspaper. In just a few short months, over 40 people died of Spanish influenza in the town of DeKalb.